This is Democracy Now! I'm Amy Goodman with Juan Gonzalez as we turn to a major setback for reproductive rights. As of midnight last night, the U.S. Supreme Court allowed a Texas law to go into effect that bans abortion after 6 weeks. No other 6-week ban has ever gone into effect in the United States. At 6 weeks, many people don't even know they're pregnant. Conservative Justice Samuel Alito refused to rule on an emergency petition filed by abortion providers seeking to block the so-called Heartbeat Act, which was signed into law by Texas Governor Greg Abbott in May. The law is seen as a direct challenge to Roe v. Wade, the landmark 1973 Supreme Court ruling that enshrined the right of women to choose to have an abortion by striking down Texas laws that criminalize the procedure. The new Texas law is unique. It empowers private citizens, not government officials, to file a civil lawsuit against patients, medical workers, or even a patient's family or friends who, quote, aid and abet an abortion, or a taxi driver who drives a woman to a clinic. If a case is successful, the person who filed it is awarded at least $10,000 plus attorney's fees. For more, we're joined by Nancy Northup, President and CEO of the Center for Reproductive Rights. Can you talk about the gravity of the threat to Roe v. Wade? Is this the most extreme law that's ever been enacted in the United States, Nancy?
Well, it's the most extreme that's ever gone into effect. And as you pointed out, this morning, unfortunately, in Texas, the clinics can't be open to provide abortions any later than 6 weeks. And 85% of people seeking abortions in Texas do so after 6 weeks, since many people don't even know they're pregnant yet at 6 weeks. So this is the most extreme law to go into effect. We have gone to the Supreme Court. We filed papers right up to 8 o'clock last night. We are waiting for the court to act. And it really should step in. I mean, what Texas has done is just blanket unconstitutional. It is not for the state of Texas to overturn Roe versus Wade. Unfortunately, that power does land with the Supreme Court, and we're fighting another case in the Supreme Court from Mississippi on that very question, where Mississippi has asked the Supreme Court to overturn Roe versus Wade. But Roe versus Wade is the law of the land. It has been for 50 years. And right now, clinic doors can't be open. You know, our client, Whole Women's Health, was open until 11:59 p.m. last night, seeing patients, because people wanted to get in and exercise their right and make the decisions for their life, health, and future right up to the midnight hour.
Well, some people say that this case obviously could determine the fate of Roe v. Wade via the court's shadow docket. Could you explain what the shadow docket is?
Absolutely. Obviously, in ordinary cases, like the case in Mississippi that the Supreme Court will hear about Mississippi's abortion ban, a party applies to the court to hear a case. The court decides whether they will or not. They announce that. Months later, we file briefs. Then there's an oral argument. Then the court renders a decision, and we all read that decision. And what the shadow docket is things like now, where we have a motion practice going on at the Supreme Court. Here, Texas, clearly unconstitutional law. I mean, there's just no question about that. I want to make sure your viewers understand. There is no question that a ban on abortion at 6 weeks violates the Constitution. That something like this, because of the way the Court of Appeals did not let the district court go ahead and render its decision in the case, the law is in effect. We go up on an emergency motion to the Supreme Court. If they don't act, which is where we are right this moment, the Supreme Court has not acted, the law goes into effect. So what they mean by shadow docket is, instead of a full hearing in the public's view, we know it's coming. Overnight, literally overnight, since midnight last night, abortion can't be accessed for most people in the state of Texas. So that's why it's called a shadow docket, and it's very, very disturbing. And we are still, the Supreme Court still can act in this case. Our papers are still pending with the court. And so we are, on pins and needles, waiting for the court to act. But
or
meanwhile,
it could stop it at any point. But Nancy Northup, if you could explain further how extreme this law is. People may not understand. A person on the street can say, I see her walking into that women's health clinic. I'm going to sue her. They don't know who this person is. Explain what this means. Just a cab driver driving someone. And also, we're even wrong in saying 6 weeks, right? It's called a heartbeat bill. If they hear a heartbeat at 5 weeks, you can be stopped from having an abortion.
That's right. So because this is an unconstitutional law, you can't ban abortion at 6 weeks. Courts have struck these down easily in other states. Texas did something very underhanded, which is they said, we're not going to enforce this as the state of Texas. We're going to empower. We're going to empower individuals, really, the anti-choice activists in Texas. We're going to empower them to enforce this. And they can do that by, as you pointed out, suing anyone. They can sue the doctor. They can sue a clinic staff member who checks a patient in. They can sue your sister who drives you to your appointment. They could sue a friend who loans you some money to be able to get the procedure. And it's absolutely crazy. They can sue you. You have an abortion in Dallas. They can sue you in Houston and drag you into court, you know, far from even where you live. And they can file lawsuits against you in, you know, over 200 jurisdictions in Texas. So this is clearly intended to harass, obviously, providers, but also the support system of a person seeking an abortion out of being able to help them at all. And to put even more outrage on this, there's $10,000 that these vigilantes who are going to be enforcing this unconstitutional ban, they are entitled to $10,000 when they go to court, and you would have to pay their attorney's fees. So if you're that sister who drove your sister to the clinic, you have to pay their attorney's fees, $10,000. And of course, it doesn't work the other way around. When you know you win in a court because of this, your attorney's fees aren't paid. So it is really designed to circumvent, number one, judicial review, which is why we're stuck right now in the Supreme Court. But second, it is designed to, again, both stop providers from being able to provide services, and also, you know, friends, families, and supporters to support a person who is seeking to get an abortion. And just to underscore again, this is constitutionally protected. It's as if Texas just said, you can't vote, right? And we're going to, you know, we're going to enforce that by vigilantes who sue you if you vote.
Nancy Northup, I wanted to ask you, what happens now in Texas right now if a woman needs or believes that she needs to have an abortion? Must she go out of state? And if so, can they even, can this law take, can people sue them even if they go out of state to have an abortion?
Okay, so first let me just say, if your listeners in Texas, if you are in this position, do call your local clinics, right? They are open because there is this small period in which you can get an abortion, and they do want to help their patients. So, of course, before you do anything, call your local clinic. And secondly, you can leave the state. They can't criminalize you leaving the state to have an abortion. But of course, for so many people, they don't have the means to do that, right? You have to not only have the financial means to leave the state, you have to be able to take time off from work. You have to potentially have childcare. Most women in Texas who have abortions do have children. And there's a whole set of circumstances that are going to make that very difficult. So, you know, again, everybody needs to be up in arms about this. I think it has been a very busy news cycle with very, very big news, legitimate big news in Afghanistan and with Hurricane Ida. But this is really important for people to understand that we need to be quite vocal, that we are not going to go backward in this country from a right that's been protected for over 50 years.
Nancy Northup, we want to thank you for being with us, President and CEO of the Center for Reproductive Rights.